Nick Saban made his college game day debut and thrilled LSU fans. We'll explain. It's Locked on LSU. Let's go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we go live. It was a busy recruiting Saturday, and LSU split a pair of decisions. We'll get to that coming up shortly. They land Aidan Anding, the cornerback out of Ruston, and miss on Jonah Williams, the 5-star number one safety in America. I'll get some reaction and some thoughts on that. What might be next for the Tigers in just a smidge. But the college football season kicked off on Saturday in Dublin, Ireland. Florida State was upset by Georgia Tech. Congrats to the Yellow Jackets. Coach Brent Key on a big-time win, a top 10 win for the Yellow Jackets. That was part of the story of Saturday. Another part of the story is what happened on College Game Day, as Nick Saban made his debut. He's been on College Game Day before when Alabama rarely missed the national championship game. We'd see him pop up there. He certainly was an analyst at times and a guest whenever Alabama was playing in the national championship or on big games where Game Day was present. Plenty of those. But as far as a full-time member of the Game Day staff and crew, this was a first for Nick Saban. And being that it was week 0 in the start of the season, Nick and the rest of the crew had to pick their college football playoff teams and their national champions. Now, I'll spare you the suspense. Everybody picked Georgia to win the SEC, and Nick Saban picked Georgia to win the national championship. Probably not a surprise. It's the one team that actually threatened Alabama here in the last 4 years, ever since LSU, of course, in 2019, won the national championship. Well, Nick Saban picked LSU to make the college football playoff. Now, that is not a very popular pick nationally. Most analysts are looking at LSU with a lot of skepticism. And I understand it. All the reasons we've talked about here for a long time. You lose a Heisman winning quarterback and 2 first-round picks at receiver and your Broyles Award finalist offensive coordinator, and your defense wasn't very good last year, and you turn over your entire defensive staff, and you missed on some big-time portal targets, and yada, 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 all the stuff. All the stuff for skepticism, sure. But here's the truth when it comes to Nick Saban and LSU. There are some people who LSU fans are assuming, well, Nick just loves LSU. He never got over leaving LSU, knows he never should have left. And that may be true. Had Nick Saban stayed at LSU and never left, he would have won multiple championships and perhaps would have built the exact same dynasty he built at Alabama in Baton Rouge. Or maybe not. Maybe the itch of the NFL always would have been aching to be scratched, and it just never would have manifested here. I don't know. That's all just a giant hypothetical, and we can all have that conversation whenever. But the truth is, there was no team that gave Nick Saban more trouble over his entire tenure at Alabama than LSU. You could say Auburn, because that was obviously a rivalry game. And look, Gus Malzahn beat Nick Saban a couple of times there during his years at Auburn. And yes, that was always going to be a thing. But even amid that 8-game losing streak, look at how all that manifests. In 2012, when Alabama was a juggernaut, they needed the miracle Yeldon screen to beat LSU in Tiger Stadium. 2013, that won in Tuscaloosa, but Zach Mittenberg in that offense, until late in the game, gave him a lot of trouble. 2014 was maybe Les Miles' worst team, and they took Alabama to overtime. And quite honestly, but for a personal foul penalty deep in LSU territory, LSU probably wins that game in regulation. We can go through the years. Like 2015, the Fournette year was incredible until they ran into Alabama. We know how that went. 2016 was a 10-0 ball game. I mean, the point. I don't need to go through the entire history of the series. You know it, but the point is, Nick knows. He just knows. He knows what LSU could have been if he weren't at Alabama in that period. LSU could have been college football's best dynasty over the last 2 decades. As a matter of fact, that's not just me being an LSU homer. LSU's won 3 national titles and played for a 4th. And the one they lost was to Alabama a team they beat in Tuscaloosa in the regular season. The only team in that period that won more national titles than LSU was Alabama. So Nick knows very well, maybe better than anyone else, the threat that LSU poses. And I love this quote. I don't have permission from ESPN to play the audio, so I'm not going to play it. I'm going to read the quote from Nick Saban on College Game Day. Quote, I think Garrett Nussmeier is going to be one of the all-time sleepers in college football this year at quarterback. LSU always has skill guys. Talk about all the receivers they lost. You could shake a tree in Louisiana and get a guy to fall out. He's right, and he knows it because he recruited this state. It's why he left Michigan State to come here. He knows the talent in this state. We talk about it all the time. In just a bit, we're going to talk about a guy that's a 3-star cornerback from Ruston, a 3-star from Ruston, North Louisiana, that has offers from Miami and Michigan and USC and everybody because they're just a little different down here. And he's right. We've talked about it a ton. Yeah, you lose a bunch with Neighbors and Thomas and Daniels, ton of production. But you got a bunch of freak shows returning, and Nick Saban knows it as well. If you're wondering, the rest of Nick Saban's bracket looks like this. As we mentioned, he's got Georgia winning. So remember, if you watch college football on Saturday, you learned this if you didn't know it already. But the top 4 college conference champions get a bye. So it's not just there's a big difference between ranking and seeding. So, for example, the highest seed Notre Dame can ever be is 5 because they don't play in a conference, so they can't win a conference championship. And the top 4 seeds that get the bye are conference champions. So this is how Nick Saban has it. He's got number 1 Georgia, the SEC champion, against number 4 Utah, the Big 12 champ. He's got number 2 Ohio. Well, forgive me. Let me not say that. They're not playing each other. These are the byes. 1 Georgia, 2 Ohio State, 3 Florida State, 4 Utah. Now, that Florida State pick took a big hit because Florida State took an ACC loss to Georgia Tech in Dublin on Saturday. Long way to go, but still a conference loss. Here's the rest. He's got the 5 seed Texas taking on the 12 seed Liberty, another SEC school. He's got the 8 seed Ole Miss taking on the 9 seed Penn State, another SEC school. He's got the 7 seed Alabama against the 10 seed Notre Dame, SEC school. And he's got the 6 seed Oregon hosting the 11 seed LSU. Nick Saban has 5 SEC schools in the playoff. Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, LSU. Now, you listen to the show, you follow me, you know how I feel about this. I do not think the norm is going to be 5 teams from any one league. Just if you look at, for example, the Big Ten, there's Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon. It's 3 from the Big Ten. Do we really think the SEC is going to make up 5 teams of a 12-team playoff where a G5 gets an auto bid and 3 other conference champions get a bid? Are 4 of the 7 at-large spots going to go to SEC schools? I don't think so. And the reason is not because I think they're not worthy. The reason is because I think the College Football Playoff Selection Committee has proven over the years they will choose the path of least resistance. Meaning, if you have a 2-loss team from the SEC and a 1-loss team from the ACC, they're going to lean on the 1-loss team from the ACC because it's the path of least resistance. Well, you had 2 losses. They had 1 loss. We'll go with the team with 1 loss. That's what they do. So we'll see if it plays out that way. It's a fascinating conversation. But at least in year 1, Nick Saban, in his debut on College Game Day, has LSU in the college football playoff. And teams like Missouri, Tennessee, Oklahoma, out. We'll see how it all plays out. Full week of college football coming up. We're just days away. Fired up for it. It was a busy Saturday. I'll give you some reaction to Aidan Anding and Jonah Williams' decisions. Next, Locked on LSU, your team every day. Hey, Locked on LSU fans. I want to take a moment, give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you are absolutely going to love. It's an amazing game. It's a simulation where you can step into the shoes of a college football head coach. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of LSU? Well, this is your shot. From recruiting your roster to hiring coaches and staff to overseeing training camps and handing out scholarships, you do it all. You control every detail of your program. It's all in your hands. It's Ultimate College Football HC. So you got to check it out. Ultimate College Football HC. It's completely free, has no ads. It is 100% playable offline. So you can play on the go, play when and where you want. And of course, we got a special offer for you here on Locked On LSU. So use the promo code Locked On CFB, all caps, inside the game store and receive a free boost to your program. Make sure to take advantage of this perk as it'll get your team off to a strong start. Again, to download the game, visit ultimate-cfb.com. That's ultimate-cfb.com, or just look it up in the App Store. That's Ultimate College Football HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. We're also brought to you today by 5 Hour Energy. Some of you may know this about me because I've said it for many, many years over my radio career. If you go into my office and you sit at my desk and you open my bottom right drawer, you will see the industrial size packs of 5 Hour Energy, the Grape Extra 5 Hour Energy. For more than a decade now, every day at about 2:45 before I begin my show at 3 o'clock Central Time, I've taken a 5 Hour Energy. I know a lot of people take a lot of caffeine all throughout the day, drink coffee. I don't. I have a cup of coffee in the morning, and I have a 5 Hour Energy before my show. I've done that for years. I know a lot of people worry about, do you get a crash? I never have. What it gives me is intense focus to make it through a 3-hour radio show with great energy and focus. Try it out. Look, college football season is here, y'all. You're probably going to be pulling some late nights watching those Pac-12 games, the Pac-2 games, or whatever we're going to call it now, out on the West Coast. If you're going to be staying up late watching those games, 5 Hour Energy, that'll give you the feeling of alertness, the energy you need to get in the zone. It has worked for me for years. And with zero sugar, you don't get the crash. It's a convenient portable size. I love that I can just take it in one shot, one sip. It's a perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. It's 5 Hour Energy. So tons of flavors as well. I told you I love the extra grape is my favorite. I love watermelon. There's so many great flavors, but find your favorite flavor as well. And on the site, you can build your own 12 or 24 pack where you get to choose the flavors. It's really cool. So check that out. Here you go. You ready? It's 5hourenergy.com. That's the numeral 5. So the number 5, hourenergy.com, and get 5 Hour Energy today and use our promo code Locked On CFB. That's Locked On CFB, and you get 20% off your order. The offer, by the way, is only valid through September the 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. So go to 5hourenergy.com today. That's the number 5, 5hourenergy.com. Experience with 5 Hour Energy what I have for years. Go to 5hourenergy.com and use the promo code Locked On CFB. Well, it was a 50-50 day for LSU football. They got Aidan Anding and missed on Jonah Williams as we anticipated. So congrats to Aidan Anding, a guy from Ruston who was set to commit to Texas about a month ago. When LSU jumped in, he pumped the brakes on everything, and LSU got it across the finish line. Another get for Corey Raymond, who was the primary recruiter, Frank Wilson, the secondary. LSU, Texas, Arkansas, Miami, Southern Cal, Georgia Tech, Ole Miss, Baylor. There were a ton of offers for Aidan Anding, and LSU beat them all. 6 foot, 170 pounds, great speed. One of those guys who, as a 3-star, might be easy to overlook. But you and I both know not sleeping on any kids from the boot, especially at that position if Corey Raymond wants him. So Aidan Anding now becomes the 3rd cornerback in the class of 2025, the 25th commit, LSU 3rd nationally. Aidan Anding joins DJ Pickett, the number one cornerback in America, and the cornerback that LSU flipped earlier this week, Cade Phillips, who had been committed to Texas, the four-star who flipped to LSU out of Missouri City, the Houston area. So LSU now with 3 cornerbacks, and we'll see if there's anybody else on the board that they may want. Of course, the answer would be Jabari Antoine from New Iberia, who's currently committed to Miami. If he had an inkling to flip and join the LSU class, of course you would take him, but we'll see if that happens. The disappointing news is what happened with Jonah Williams, although not tremendously any big surprise. So, we've talked about Jonah Williams for months now. He's a safety, the number one safety in America out of Ball High School in Galveston. We told you, if you listen to yesterday's episode, our previous episode, that on Friday night before the announcement, I'd had a call from someone intimately familiar with the situation. So it looked like it was going to be Texas. Texas had a pretty significant gap in their NIL offer. So a more sizable NIL offer than LSU. And I'm not going to say that was the only thing, but it appears as though Texas maybe did a better job. Excuse me. That was a yawn. I'm recording late and I'm tired. Watched football all day. Sorry. My apologies. Texas maybe did a better job recruiting on the football side. Not to say LSU didn't do a good job, but sometimes it happens. Maybe Texas did a better job recruiting on the football side, but LSU did a better job recruiting on the baseball side. But Jim Schlossnagle had been recruiting Jonah Williams at Texas A&M. Now he's the Texas head coach. A lot of circumstances came together that made it make sense. But the other thing I was told on Friday night that I'll reiterate here if you missed it on the previous show, it was that Jonah Williams was truly torn between LSU and Texas. And ultimately he picked Texas, as I think we all anticipated he would. But if you're torn, then there's really no reason to lock in that commitment, to self-impose that deadline. And what I was told is he just wanted to be over. If that's the case, that certainly doesn't mean LSU is going to stop recruiting him. So December 4th is the early signing period. Jonah Williams is expected to forego his senior season of baseball, as I'm told, to early enroll wherever he signs, if it is in fact Texas, so that way he can go through spring football coming up in this spring after the football season. So we'll see how it all plays out. But for now, Jonah Williams is a Texas commit. LSU misses there. But the Tigers do get Aidan Anding, and they're up to 20. What a class for LSU right now. I mean, just a massively impressive class, how the Tigers are pulling this together right now. Now you add Aidan Anding, and you're up to 25 commits for the class of 2025. Okay, that'll do it for us here on Locked on LSU. If you're new, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video, and let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you here every single day for Locked on LSU, your team every day.